Hello everybody, how is it going? My name is Lucas and I came into my studio. I was going to play a little bit of guitar and I saw a leak on the Fender Reddit that we have some new Fenders coming. We have the American Ultra Luxe Vintage line that's coming. Right now I have the actual leaked video of the Strat. They do have some tellies too. I could not find a telly video. I may do a whole separate video on that one, depending on how this one does. But let's check it out. So we got the new Fender line that's going to launch. I've watched about 25% of this video, but I stopped because I wanted to do a reaction with everybody, see it for the first time. So let's check it out. I'm going to play it a little bit, and then I'm going to skip ahead because the first part doesn't really tell you anything about the guitars.
Hey, this is Harrison Whitford, and I'm excited to be here at Fender and Corona talking.
Okay, yeah, that's it. He just talks about how the guitar, he works with songwriters, and the guitar is what uses it's his instrument to talk to people. We have the red one right here, which is very cool and nice. And I'm just skipping ahead a little bit, guys. It's a long video. I don't want to keep you here all day. So we have the Heirloom Nitrocellulose lacquer finish. And this is what was used on like a lot of like the vintage guitars. For those who don't know, like if you ever seen like when they like crack and stuff like that, like the finish is kind of cracked. That's the cellulose that does that. Also, I am not like a vintage guitar like connoisseur at all. So like, please correct me if I say anything wrong as we're going along here. Please let me know in the comments down below. So they got the finish. This is what's different. This is the vintage one, so it's different from the normal American Ultra Luxe series.
Always felt that checking looks kind of elegant, and there's like a wabi-sabi quality to just, it's not quite perfect, and it makes it a beautiful object, and it's really tastefully done here, and you know, the finish looks like a vintage guitar.
Also, I don't know if you notice, if you look at the headstock, it's actually darker than what you would get on like a normal Strat, which I kind of like that. And then the fret markers right here, they look almost maple. So I don't know if it's like the actual, like they're letting it show through the neck. I think that actually looks kind of cool. I would kind of rather a black pick guard, but I get it. This is a vintage series. Okay, I'm shut up.
If we find ourselves above the 12th fret, the tapered neck heel really aids in just sort of...
Fender should have been doing this ages ago. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is also on the normal American Deluxe line. I got it pulled up right here. So, these are currently sold out. We'll talk about price in a little bit too. Yeah, so this one also does have the tapered heel, which this is nice. Fender should have been doing this ages ago. Which I don't exactly think the vintage ones had that type of heel. So that may kind of cause some problems for people who are like, no, I want this to be absolutely super vintage.
Getting to these higher position notes, you know, if I want to play a high D flat or something, or some kind of lead or arpeggio up the neck, even if it's not a lead, but just a high part, it's nice to be able to do all that kind of effortlessly. With being able to, you know, coil tap it and switch to a single coil is if you're in the middle of a tune that's, you know, you have a rhythm part for the most of the tune, and you have a lot of clarity coming out of this pickup when it's engaged as a humbucker and when it's a single coil.
Okay, I want to kind of correct something on here. So, a coil tap, for those who don't know, it's literally when you're tapping a coil further back on the winding scale. So the way pickups are made, you have the magnet and you're winding the wire around it, right? Well, when you coil tap it, you take the wire and you exclude it, you tap it out, right? And then you keep wiring. So when you tap it, it's tapped when it's not as hot, if that makes any sense. So you wind it, you put your tap out, and you keep winding. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. For a split, right? When you talk about a coil split, what he's talking about on here is that the humbucker, I think if you pull one of the knobs, it takes the humbucker, they're together, it splits them, so you can have a 3 coil sound in there. So you're getting an extra single coil in there as opposed to just the humbucker.
Sometimes there's gigs where I don't show up with a pedal board and I just have an amp. And this would be a scenario where, you know, if you have an amp at the right volume, this basically can become a drive for you, but with tons of clarity. Like, you're not losing tone, but you're gaining that lift that you need sometimes.
Ah, there you go. S1 switch splits the humbucker for single coil tones. So it's not a tap, it's a split. He said that wrong in here and they didn't edit it out. So if you push, I think that's interesting. I've never seen it on a knob like that, but this is pretty cool, which I don't think, once again, I don't think this was on like the older vintage Strats. By the way, I'm skipping the playing because I kind of don't really care about that. I care about like how the guitar, like what the specs and stuff are.
I would say it has to feel like it's been somewhat played in. Doesn't mean that it has to have been played in, but sometimes a guitar can be set up in a certain way, whether that means the actions in a suite.
So these pickups are different than the hum single. These are pure vintage 57 coils.
Spot, the right strings, and hardware, like the guitar staying in tune, is obviously really important. And then obviously spending time with an instrument, and it kind of molds to.
Hold on, let's go back a little bit here. Locking tuners. This thing has locking tuners and stainless frets. Holy crap. I have been screaming for Fender to do this for ages. And it comes with locking tuners and stainless frets. Wow. Good job, Fender. I know this is probably might make the super vintage crowd angry, but it doesn't matter.
Like the guitar staying in tune is obviously really important. And then obviously spending time with an instrument and it kind of molds to you, you know, special. First Fender artist that probably really changed my life was Jeff Beck. Stretching the limits of their imagination and using always artists that are really stretching the limits of their imagination and using.
So when you push the switch right here, it adds a neck pickup and positions 1 and 2 back here. So I guess you get like the yeah. I mean, I guess that's cool. I've never really used that on a guitar before. I mean, if you want the neck, just switch to the neck, but I guess that's cool. This seems like it'd be a lot more useful on a hum single.
A tool like a Fender guitar to do it with. I feel like the ultra rolled edges just aid in everything feeling smooth.
I kind of like this spec split up here too. Like they're kind of covering different bases, so different people are gonna want different body woods and might like maple over rosewood. I kind of like how they're breaking it up a little bit. It kind of gives you a lot more variety.
Whatever I go for, there's not a lot of resistance. It's a balancing act, right? Of like the right amount of resistance, not something that's too easy to play, but something that's easy enough.
I'm pretty sure this is pretty much standard. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty sure this is the standard compound radiuses and stuff on most Strats. I know a lot of the vintage people will be able to tell me if it's different or not, because I am, once again, like I said before, I am not a vintage Strat connoisseur at all. I don't know all the specs off the top of my head.
So that, you know, I can play without thinking too much.
Lumen lay side dots on a vintage guitar. I love everything Fender's doing here. Like, a lot of the specs they have on there are not purely vintage, and that's gonna piss a lot of people off. But to be honest with you, I like it. I did not think this thing would be aimed at me, but it has a lot of modern stuff in it that like I like.
It, to me, feels almost like a personally modified guitar. You found some guitar in a pawn shop a long time ago, and somebody might have routed some old Strat for a humbucker in the bridge or put locking tuners on it. These things that make it a little bit more reliable as a studio or live instrument, but without compromising, you know, things that make a vintage guitar attractive, like Fiesta Red or any of those like great features that we love.
I think that is it for the interesting things in this video. I'm not going to bore you with Harrison talking about stuff, but let's break this down. Price-wise, I was also cruising around Reddit, and so I'll show you the price next. It must be, is it this one? No, so this is the post where I found that the video leaked. This is on the Fender subreddit, and there's another post. So is it right back here? Yes, it's this right here. This post right here. So this price right here, this is actually from like an Australian dealer, so don't freak out that it's that much. So I actually pulled up, you know, on Fender's website, and so the normal non-vintages were 26, but they got this one on 21. So I imagine it's around 22. So I imagine these are probably going to hit the street at around 22. That is about what I imagine. And if you come to Sweetwater, that's the same thing on the price. They have them. This one's at like $21.99. This is an open box one, so I imagine it'll be somewhere in between 22 and 24, depending. Probably like there'll be like $102 differences, depending on like the different features and the different colors and stuff. So I pulled up the specs right here so we can kind of compare them. The finish is going to be different. I think it was an augmented D. So yeah, that's the compounds, bolt-on. 22, that's all the same. So it is a little bit different. So it's a gloss polyurethane, yeah. So it is a little bit different. I won't say, and you have the vintage pickup. I won't say it isn't purely vintage. Like I said, a lot of people are gonna get mad at that because they want like a pure vintage. It kind of feels like a vintage modern, to be honest with you. That's literally what it feels like. Like I love the locking tuners and the stainless frets and the aluminum lays, because that comes on like a lot of the guitars I have. Like almost every guitar I have back there behind me has that. So I do really like that a lot. The colors, it looks like it's coming in red, teal, and like white from what we saw from the video right there. So I think these guitars are kind of cool. I think they're a little bit too expensive, to be honest with you. Now, price-wise, yeah, they are a little bit expensive in that $2,200 range, because you can kind of build a parts caster with a lot of the same things for a little bit cheaper. Now, off of the shelf, yes, you ain't got to mess with it. Yes, I would, you know, it has a lot of stuff. Out of the box, you really even have to change. Stainless frets is kind of a big deal for me. I know Fender just started that, but I've been screaming at them to do that for years, and they finally did it, which is great. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the new Fender vintage Ultra Luxe guitars? I think they're kind of cool. I like the specs that are in them. I don't like the price. I think the price is a little bit more expensive, because for that kind of price, I'm going to probably pick up an Anderson or a Shure. Used, of course. I mean, new, they're a little more expensive, but used, that's the right sweet spot for it. I'm also concerned that people who want an actual true vintage Strat are not going to like this, because it has too many modern things in it. I think the stainless frets may kind of anger people, because a lot of people are purists, and they're like, no, the stainless frets change your tone. I love stainless frets. I wish everything in the world had them. I like that they're here. But I don't really think this guitar is aimed at people like me. I really think it's aimed at people who want like vintage stuff, because the nitroless finish is really, what gives it that, like, I don't say feel, but it gives it that vintageness, I guess you could say. So guys, let me know what you think about the Fender American Ultra Luxe guitars in the comments down below. These are the Strats, obviously. I imagine the Tellies are kind of gonna be sort of the same thing, kind of in that same line, you know, locking tuners and the stainless frets and stuff like that. Kind of might be a little bit similar to the non-vintage American Ultra Luxe. So guys, let me know in the comments down below what you think about these guitars. This video is currently unlisted. I did film this on August 10th of 2025, so this video is currently unlisted. These guitars are set to launch on August 12th. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Once again, correct me if I got anything wrong. And guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me. A lot of stuff out there I want your attention. You chose to spend it with me, and hey, look, I am very grateful for that. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.